Good morning and welcome to Zombies and Coffee. So, last night's episode was really good. Really enjoyed it. A lot happened, but there's not a lot to talk about because it was pretty much out in the open. There's two main points that I want to touch on. Both kind of come full circle to the same end game. But yeah, there's two main points, but I'll get to them as I get through the list here. So we start kind of with a single cantaloupe in the beginning. At first I was thinking, all right, this is it. Richard's convinced them to get into it, the Saviors. They're going to put one cantaloupe in there. They're going to provoke them. This is going to be it. This is where it's all going to start for the kingdom and the Saviors. Turns out that was the end of the episode. It was like playing backwards. Okay, tricked me. Good job on that, because I really thought that's where that was going to go. After that, we see Carol coming to the kingdom. Now, the most important thing that we see with Carol coming to the kingdom, and they hinted at this with what Benjamin said at the end when she walks through the gates, is we see Carol, she didn't lose it. She still has it. She took out all of those walkers all on her own, got to the kingdom, got to the gate, was resourceful with the one-way sign, makes the noise, climbs a tree, makes the walkers come to her, stabs the walkers in the head with the one-way sign. She still has it. She still knows what she's doing. She can still live and survive in this world. She is more than capable than 90% of the people out there to carry on and survive on her own. With the way Richard wanted to sabotage Carol, even if that would have happened, I think Carol would have been resourceful enough to get herself out of that situation with the Saviors. We know that Carol still has it. She hasn't lost anything, living alone in this quiet life, in this cottage with no one around, no walkers to kill, no enemies. She still has it. She's still a badass chick. Now, going back, obviously the walker that she maimed, now with his skull split open, and we see an ominous figure peeking around the corner of the building. For a second, I said to myself, is that Richard or is that Daryl? Because we haven't seen Daryl since he left. We knew he was going to the hilltop. At least he said he was going to the hilltop. But we hadn't seen him since he last spoke to Carol and left. So it could have been Daryl. At first, I was thinking anyway, it could have been Daryl watching out for Carol. He didn't tell Carol about anything that happened. All he said was that they made a deal with the Saviors. He didn't say anything about taking Maggie to the hilltop for medical attention and that the Saviors blocked them. He didn't tell her that Negan bashed in the brains of Glenn and Abraham. He didn't tell anything that happened at Alexandria. Then, of course, we saw Richard digging the grave, which we pretty much knew Richard was digging the grave already. That was part of the previews last week for this week's episode. If you didn't figure that one out already, at first, I didn't realize what Richard was doing with the distraction with the shopping carts in the grave. It was to provoke Ezekiel, but it was to get rid of the one melon, the cantaloupe. I don't like melons, so I'm not so good at identifying melons, but I'm pretty sure it was a cantaloupe, I think. I didn't realize that he ditched it. It took a couple seconds of like count them, figure it out. I was like, oh, that's what Richard was doing. He was getting rid of the cantaloupe to provoke the Saviors, to kill him, to start the war between the kingdom and the Saviors. He didn't anticipate Benjamin getting shot, but we did. At least you should have, and I'll tell you why. The past few episodes have had a lot of Benjamin in them, and they've been like making him this nice guy, and we all know what happens with nice guys. Nice guys get killed. Once you get that backstory and you kind of become this likable character, once you show that you're a good person, that's when you die. But the clincher was in the beginning when Morgan is teaching Benjamin's little brother to fight with the staff. Now, Morgan sees Benjamin walk up behind them, and the little brother doesn't know that Benjamin's there. I don't remember the little brother's name. I'm sure we got it at some point, but I can't remember. And when Morgan says to the little brother, you want to be like your brother, don't you? And he says, yeah. Okay, Benjamin's going to be the one that dies in this episode. they set it up. You had to see the writing on the wall. That was coming. I didn't expect him to get shot in the leg and bleed out, though. I thought it was going to be a quick death for him, but I think it was a little... I liked the way that they did it, because that's really what put Morgan over the edge. If it had been a quick death, Morgan still would have been mad, but the way that Benjamin died and bled out, that's really, really what set Morgan over the edge and kind of made him revert back to that state that Rick and Michonne found him in way back in Rick's hometown. This was definitely the turning point for both Morgan and Carol. This is where the two main points come in. I'm going to group Morgan and Carol together as one because they both are taking the same stance, more or less. They're both seeing themselves as outsiders. They don't want to be involved in the kingdom's getting into or not getting into a war with the Saviors. They've both had their tussles with the Saviors. They came from Rick's group. They came from Alexandria, so they know what the Saviors are capable of. Carol not as much as Morgan, but they're both trying to stay neutral. Carol wants to be completely left alone. Morgan just wants to be Zen Morgan, but this was the turning point for the both of them. They're now in this. We already saw at the beginning of the episode, Carol hasn't lost it. She's more than capable of fighting in this war, and we know she's going to come out on top because she's Carol. And Robert Kirkman already said he's not going to kill off Carol because he really likes the character. So Carol's not going to die. Now we have Ezekiel going to take the kingdom into it, and that's exactly what Richard wanted. In the end, Morgan's wrestling with his demons. You could see that he's starting to lose it. This is where you see it when he starts calling Benjamin Dwayne. So he didn't kill Richard to get Richard's endgame accomplished, because that's exactly what Richard wanted. He wanted the Saviors to think that they were on board, that they know how the world works, and that the kingdom was totally on board. Richard wanted to get the Saviors' trust back so then they can surprise them with this attack, with the war that they're going to start. That was Richard's endgame. Morgan ultimately got them there, but not on purpose. He kind of snapped. That's why he killed Richard. He didn't kill Richard to give Richard his endgame, because at this point Richard told Morgan he is going to be the leader of the war for the kingdom against the Saviors. He was going to lead the people to victory. So Richard wanted to be the martyr, and now he wants to be the master. He wants to be the leader. He wants to be the one that brings them to victory. So he went from being, I'm going to sacrifice myself, to I am going to lead everyone to victory. And Richard wasn't a leader. He already established this with his whole rant about how he did nothing. He did nothing at the encampment he was in. He did nothing when his daughter died. Now he wants to do something, but now it's too late. You've already done nothing for too long, Richard. You're not coming back from this. The kingdom now has the trust of the Saviors back. They think that they're on board. They're not. And we 100% know this because in the end, Carol convinces Morgan to stay in the cottage. Carol goes to the kingdom, and we see that Carol and Ezekiel... We saw two things there, actually, now that I think about it. Carol tells Ezekiel that they have to fight, and Ezekiel says, yes, but not today. And then they kind of walk off into the garden to replant the garden. This is two things. Ezekiel realizing that the war is coming and they are going to fight. And Ezekiel and Carol, they're getting together now. That's it. That was the final turning point where Ezekiel and Carol are going to start the little romance. I don't know how quickly they'll move with it. I think it'll be a slow go, but I think we finally saw the actual introduction of the Carol-Ezekiel romance right there. Next week's previews, the one thing that they show, and I doubt it's not going to work, they show Sasha scoping in Negan from a tower outside their compound. She's not going to kill him. They're not going to kill Negan. Negan actually just played a super pivotal role in the comics where they're at thus far, which is far past where we are in the TV show. But yeah, they're not going to kill Negan, and also that would just end the impending war, which everyone wants to see the blood, the guts, the doom, and the gloom. So they're not going to cut the head off the snake before they hit the big season finale. And again, I don't think the war is going to start at the finale. I think we're going to get to that point, and then 6 months down the line, we'll see what happens. All right, it's time to wrap up this week's episode of Zombies and Coffee. So I guess we're just gonna have to see next week what happens. Do you think Sasha and Rosita are gonna be successful? Are they gonna take down Negan? Are they gonna cut the head off the snake that's trying to bite them? We'll just have to tune in next week to find out. If you like this episode or any other episode, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You can hit that thumbs up, you can ring that bell, click that red subscribe button, or that floating head of mine you'll see at the end of this video. Thank you.